Oh, I just tilted this thing. Okay, so we just finished watching 2 videos. What was the first one? So the first one was showing us how the information you use to interact with the world can formulate how you perceive it. So again, if I, like, you know, Miss Rantucci, our vice principal, could have walked me in first day with my shaved head, not wearing a suit, and said, hey, this guy's a former convict. He's gonna be, convict is a criminal, right? Yeah. He is going to be your social studies teacher. How would that change the way you perceive me, right? Like maybe you'd be more scared, right? Hey, this guy was in the military. He served 2 tours in Afghanistan. He killed some people. How would you feel about me? Thank you, I appreciate that. Or, hey, this guy ran into a burning house and saved a family of 4. That's why he has these facial scars. You know, what would your perception of me be then, right? So that was the first video. The second video, yes, to answer your question, the biggest plot twist was likely that it was a beer commercial, right? But what do we think is the main takeaway from that video? What lesson do you think Heineken wants us to learn from that video? Would anyone like to give it a try? You seem like you're formulating a thought.
Beer will fix anything.
Beer will fix it. Sure, if you're drunk enough,
Drinking
right?
fixes problems.
Okay. Any other? What lesson did we take away from that? What did we gain? Yes.
You forget all your problems when you're in questions.
Well, you forget all your problems. Come on, kids. They barely drank their beer, right? What happened before the beer came out?
They built a bar.
They built the bar. What did they do prior to building the bar? What did they first build? Stools. They built, yeah, sure, friendship, right? They built common ground. Is that what you wanted to say?
Oh yeah, kind of.
Okay. Well, what were you gonna say though?
I was gonna say that they became friends before they found out they were like had different opinions.
Yeah, right. And how did they become friends? By, you know, doing something difficult together, right? They had to build. I don't know how many of you have had to build something, furniture, a tent. How many of you had to put up a tent? Okay, a handful of you. During that process of putting up a tent, was there a lot of yelling? Was there disagreements? Shouting? Was there a lot of, hey, I did my part right and you messed something up? Right? So building things can be tough, right? Particularly if you're not willing to follow instructions or to have grace with other people, right?
I remember my dad tried to build a Star Wars Lego set with the instructions. It took him 3 days.
Right, it took them a long time. So the main message in this video, because how did they start it? What's the first thing they asked people to do? Like right at the start of the video, what were they doing? They were responding to a question. And was it just any question? Like, hey, what's your favorite color? Oh, what kind of question was it?
It was asking like what their beliefs were.
Yeah, asking them a very serious question about their beliefs, right? Some people were asked about climate change. Some people were asked about feminism. I think one question was on transgender people and whatnot. Okay, and nowadays those 3 questions, those 3 topics are very heated. And so what did they do? They brought 2 people together who were very different, right? Very, very, very different opinions. And particularly they had the black girl and that white guy with the shaved head. And so and they were talking about feminism, right? And, you know, the white guy brought up in the process of discussing and learning, he shared that, hey, I've been homeless. I've had a very hard life. You know, things have been very challenging for me. And what was he grateful for? Just life itself, right? And so they bring people, what they do first, it's like, okay, where do you stand on this topic? Oh, you're over here, you're over here. Excellent, we're gonna record that. Let's bring you 2 together in a room. Let's get you sharing something about your life. Let's get you building something together, working on a, let's say, unified project. You're both trying to do the same thing, okay? And they kind of threw a curveball by saying, oh, I actually have your instructions, right? So that's the first challenge, right? Can you get over that hurdle as well, right? That takes humility. And then once they have some common ground, some friendship, right, they throw this epic curveball. They reveal to the person, you know, the true, let's say, well, you know, maybe you can make a philosophical discussion about what is their true self. That part where they're building friendship, or the part where, you know, they're expressing their political views. But then they have the big reveal of difference in politics and ask people, okay, now that you know this, are you going to sit down with this person, have a beer, have a chat? Are you going to focus on your similarities, or are you simply going to focus on your differences, right? And Heineken is essentially presenting the individuals with a challenge and a choice. You know, essentially, are you going to go back to your ignorance and say, well, I can't talk to people who have those beliefs? Or are you going to be more enlightened and say, well, that person may have different political beliefs, but hey, we have all these similarities, these similar life experiences. We're actually more alike than we are different. And so why not? Let's sit down with this person. Let's find out, why do you have this belief? You know, what should you do next? That one with the transgender lady was quite interesting, right? Her perception of him was, oh, you must be ex-military. You're very solemn, you're very quiet, you're reserved. And he goes, no, not at all. Like, people have made the connection, but it's not there. And then this woman who was once a man, turns out that person was actually an ex-military and is also transgender. And so prior to learning that, this other guy has already given her his respect. And so let's see, what else? The question. So why are conversations about political issues sometimes challenging? You know, how does this video highlight, how did that video highlight how it can be challenging to discuss with someone very different political beliefs? Would anyone like to add? Don't be shy, kids. There's no right or wrong answer. Would you like me to go first? Sure. Okay. So I'll tell you a story. So I'm Muslim. I was born Muslim. And like most people who are born into a religion early on when I was very young, rather than, you know, teaching people about God and belief, it was more so like Sunday school, memorize this stuff, learn this stuff. We go to the mosque because that's what we do as Muslims. Are any of you go to church, or any of you practice religion? Anyone here? Right? Do you feel something very similar? You kind of go because your parents take you, right? By the time I was in high school, that's when I started having an interest in religion on my own. When I was a child, I actually thought most of religion was ridiculous, and I thought by the time I'd be in high school, like, oh, there's no way I'll be going to the mosque when I'm 15, 20, 25. So there I am in high school, and you know, now I start learning more about religion, and I want to learn more about, well, you know, why am I Muslim? Why do the people at my mosque say that they're the right people chosen by God? Why do Christians say the same thing, and Jews? So I started learning more. So I had a friend who was quite religious. He was Christian. Him and I knew each other in grade 10 and 11. And in grade 12 is when we started having more discussions about faith. And so how this connects is that, you know, I still remember this day very vividly. He told me that the Quran is just an unfinished Bible, right? Which, as a Muslim at that time, was, you know, I didn't know how to interpret this statement. And it was said with such confidence, like, he's like, oh, you know, God told me this. The Quran's an unfinished Bible, like, just become a Christian already. Now, had him and I not been friends, let's say that's the first interaction you have with someone, right? Another challenging discussion, let's say somewhat out of politics, is about religion, right? People can feel very strongly about their religious beliefs. And if you open up a dialogue with, you know, hey, I think your belief is stupid and an incomplete version of mine. Do you think you could be friends with that person? It would be very challenging, right? It'd be one big hill to get over, that's for sure, right? So would anyone else like to share? You know, why are some of these conversations so difficult? Want to add?
Because they believe in like polar opposites. So like
Yeah.
when they come together,
Yeah, when you're on polar opposites, a very good phrase to use. Right? If you're this far apart, it's hard to get to the middle. And when you're very far apart, you might not even know where the middle is. Right? Like, how many of you can tell me the middle of the distance between here and those trees way back there? Right? Right? Like, now imagine, you know, they showed us in the video, one person doesn't believe in climate change and believes that people who push it are crazy. And the other person, he's way down by those trees. He thinks, no, we're not doing enough to solve this problem. Well, where's the middle ground with those, right? It's very hard. Right? You had your hand up. There's well someone. Anyone else want to add? Why are these conversations so difficult? Yeah, we're scared of judgment. How many of you have had a disagreement with someone? Okay. And when you had that disagreement, did you feel like you were being personally attacked? Like, hey, this person's attacking me and who I am. Anyone? Maybe when I was younger I had that. Right? And so part of why it's so challenging to have a discussion about, let's say, politics, religion, about your beliefs, is because oftentimes, you know, as people, we tend to fall into this. We think that our beliefs are us, our ideas are us. Right? So someone, let's say you think NHL is the best sport, and someone says,